Gambia government declared state of public emergency and curfew ends tonight. Mali needs a 3-year transition, says Professor Kodjo. Gambia registers an additional 22 new COVID-19 cases, bringing the total to 2,708. These and other stories coming under news text. Hello, it is 1 o'clock in our studios in Banjul. This is Julden Jai Suare with the news text, and now the news in detail. The 21-day state of public emergency and curfew declared by the Gambia government end tonight after 3 weeks of limited activities in the country. Since the confirmation of the first novel coronavirus in the Gambia in March, President Barrow has declared series of emergency regulations as part of efforts to contain the spread of the virus in the country. But that did not stop the surge in COVID-19 cases, as the country recorded over 2,000 cases and 90 deaths. Also, part of the measures under the new state of emergency is a ban on all congregational prayers in mosques and churches and the closure of land, sea and air borders. Markets were asked to operate from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., but that regulation has since been revised by the authorities. Accordingly, people who breach the regulations face fines up to $5,000. Now, posters in support of the United States Democratic Vice Presidential nominee Kamala Harris have appeared in her ancestral village in the Indian province of Tamil Nadu. Several posters with various pictures of Harris and messages of support pump up across the village, expressing pride and wishing her good luck in her candidacy. Harris is the first candidate of the Indian descent to be on a U.S. presidential podium. Her ancestral village is delightfully celebrating her success in her life. With that, we will take our first break and come back for the continuation of the news text. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and now to the rest of our stories. President Barrow said the COVID-19 pandemic has not spared any part of the globe, including the Gambia. He said despite the small size of the country, if everyone adhered to the health regulations, the country will register significant progress in the fight against the virus. He made these remarks while participating in the first virtual meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee on COVID-19, which was chaired by the Vice President on Monday. The President also expressed delight in having his cabinet colleagues back at work, adding a lot needs to be done as the pandemic is affecting every sector. Aside from the regular briefing he receives from the Vice President, this meeting has availed him the opportunity to have a first-hand achievement and challenges encountered in the fight against the disease. Other aspects of the coronavirus pandemic discussed included the negative impact of the emergency regulations on various sectors and efforts to mitigate them, the role of the various frontline workers, as well as support of individuals and groups were recognized and appreciated by the Cabinet Subcommittee. In his closing remark, the Gambian leader reiterated that as a politician, he depends on technical advice to enable him to make informed policy decisions. He described the meeting as good and worth the time, while pointing out that aside from the health aspect of COVID-19, other facets of our development agenda should be addressed and the procedures and processes enhanced. Now we head to Mali because discussions between ECOWAS regional bloc and the military junta that overthrew Mali's former president Ibrahim Keita ended with reaching an agreement regarding the country's return to civilian transition. Professor Jos Kodjo of New Jersey University in the United States told iAfrica TV that the military coup in Mali was unavoidable and the country needed a transitional period to recover from the crisis.
I personally think that the transition that Mali needs in this specific case should last at least 2 to 3 years. Yes, I agree. Whether it's a military who will be in power for 2 to 3 years, that's something not for me to decide. But Mali does need, as a society, to figure out who is best suited to lead its transition. But I insist that the transition should last at least 2 to 3 years to set a path for a new trajectory. Because if they repeat the same thing they did 8 years ago, by just having a short transition and then elections, we'll be at the same crossroads again a few years from now. So they need to take the time, reconcile society with itself, with its leaders, and figure out a path forward. And I'll be happy to provide ideas about how to do that. So the 3 years, that's totally appropriate for me.
All right. Now, this is not the first time, as you may know, for a coup d'etat to happen in Africa. And with this latest one again in Mali, can we say lessons are not being learned from experiences in what happened in other countries before?
Absolutely. We have a tendency of not learning from the past, not learning from our history. These coups happen for a reason. And I keep insisting on this aspect. These coups happen because we have in our systems, there is no neutral, apolitical body of government that can step in and bring parties together at times of crisis. That's a big lesson we need to learn and figure out a way to have that.
He also advised Malians to seize the opportunity to build a lasting system of government.
So here is what I will advise the Malian people to do. Seize the moment, seize the opportunity to build a lasting system of governance, a new system of governance. That governance, I'm proposing a model called consensus, a consensual model of democracy, where you rebuild the administration, the public administration, in a way that it does not depend on the president alone. For instance, you can bring in a council of what I call wise men and women that can be in office for a lifetime. They can be selected through a national dialogue, a national conference, and those people will have the responsibility of approving or consenting to any public official that is appointed to lead an administrative agency, and that will reduce corruption and poor governance. That's the key. But if we keep allowing the political leaders to be in charge of the administrative, the military, the police, everything, they will use those instruments for their own political benefits.
That's Professor Jos Kodjo of the New Jersey University in the United States of America speaking to iAfrica's TV Amadou Kante earlier. Now, the number of COVID-19 cases in the Gambia has slightly dropped compared to recent weeks, with the latest report from the Ministry of Health indicated that the country registered 22 new cases of COVID-19, taking the total number of COVID-19 cases ever confirmed in the country to 2,708 since March. The 127 National Situation Report on COVID-19 released on Monday indicated that volunteer doctors have taken it upon themselves to account for positive cases that are self-isolating at home by regularly calling and monitoring their conditions. The report further stated that 98 new laboratory test results were received from the Medical Research Council, the Gambia, and the National Public Health Laboratory, and of these, 5 tests returned inconclusive. The country currently has 3 new COVID-19 deaths, bringing the total number of deaths to 93, with 611 recoveries since March. Well, with that COVID-19 update brings us to the end of the news desk. But for more of these and others, join Amadou Kante at 17:30 GMT. Once again, I am Julen Jaisware. Thanks for the pleasure of your company and do have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Debunking COVID-19 myths. Myth 1.
Masila coronavirus la. Kata boka mo fi wal mutali.